Good morning, Hustle Nation. Hey, we're breaking down Servant Leadership Explained today, man. How to get what you want by and through the service of other people. Yeah, it's going down today, man. Some of you guys are missing huge opportunities because you're letting envy, bitterness, all kind of other emotions step in the way of your ability to serve with excellence. And I'm going to share with you guys today 10 key principles from a blog that I found called teamgant.com. 10 key principles of servant leadership. And let's see how you measure up in the leadership department. So let's get ready to rock and roll. Comment in the chat the name of your business and your brand. Let us know what city you're tuning in from, and don't forget to be prepared to answer the question of the day coming up in a few minutes. So let's get it started. Yo, what's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast for the entrepreneur of the 21st century. And I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. Our goal is to give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the world's greatest hustlers build amazing brands, scale their businesses to incredible heights, sell more, make more, and create mass movements that impact the world. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned vet or you're sitting on the sidelines with aspirations to one day unleash your inner hustle. This show will provide the insights into how pure grit, determination, and hard work has morphed into some of the most iconic brands and personalities, and how they are moving the culture forward. You'll get a mix of solo shows featuring yours truly, as well as interviews and content from other hustlers that I either know personally, or I've learned from, or whose grind I've come to know and respect. And you'll also get exclusive recordings from our membership called Monetize My Life Academy, which you can check out at monetizemylifeacademy.com. That's a program where we go live every month with some of the best hustlers on the planet, sharing best practices on how we all can explode our brands with advanced branding and marketing tactics, business development strategies, and financial game planning necessary to build the empires we all desire. Again, that's at monetizemylifeacademy.com. If you like today's episode, chances are the hustlers you're connected to will like it as well. Share it with those in your network. And when you do, use hashtag Cortez Hustle so I can see you and hopefully give you a shout out and share you in my stories. So check out today's episode and make sure you subscribe to the feed on your favorite podcasting networks. What's up, Ultimate Hustlers, and welcome to the Cortez Hustle Show this morning. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustler. Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite digital marketing coach right here from monetizemylifeacademy.com, where we teach how to take your gift, talent, special abilities, turn those into digital products that you can market and sell online and build a brand around. As they say, man, when you're doing something you love, you never work a day in your life. So make sure you check out monetizemylifeacademy.com to learn more about our monthly mastermind and how we can help you take your business to the next level. Do me a favor, man. Go ahead, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, and I would love to give you a free business shout out. Double A is in the building. Welcome to the stream this morning. We're talking about servant leadership. There's different styles of leadership, but I'm going to lay out 10 principles of servant leadership. And speaking of leadership, let me give you the question of the day for today. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader is the question of the day. If you want to be entered into a drawing to win a free vacation, put QOTD, then give your answers. 1 meaning not so good, 10 meaning you're the best. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? And some of you guys are saying, well, Cortez, I don't have a business. I don't have a team. I'm not a manager on my job. You lead yourself. You lead your family. You may lead your church. Everybody is a leader in some capacity. So question of the day, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? Put QOTD, then your answer. That's how we know to enter you into the drawing to to win the free vacation. A couple quick announcements before we get rocking and rolling. If you guys have not already seen the brand new blog for the Cortez Hustle Show, man, y'all got to go check it out. We're loading it up right now with all of the past episodes. So now you'll have one source. All you got to remember is thecortezhustleshow.com, and you'll be able to go there and get all of your announcements, all of your past episodes, the actual text script of the breakdown of the show, information about our guests and our sponsors, thecortezhustleshow.com. And as a way to ethically bribe you to get you over there, I'm giving away a copy of my book, Monetize My Life, and a course, How to Become an Influencer, for free. But you can only get it if you go check out thecortezhustleshow.com. You'll see right there on the top is the ability for you to get access to that book and course for free. You just cover the shipping of the book, and we'll get that right out to you guys this morning. Let's see. This is awesome. Nice. MWR Financial Area Director in Hinesville, Clovell Oliphant, is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about servant leadership. And I found this article on teamgant.com that breaks down the 10 principles of servant leadership. And that's what we're going to be getting into today. In addition to the blog announcement, because the blog is now up and running, if you guys have a product or service and you want to put the full power of the Cortez Hustle Show and Thornton Online Marketing behind your brand, then you have to look at sponsoring either a segment of the show, an episode of the show, or even being a sponsored guest on the show, and let us help you get your brand out there to more and more people. So if you're interested in learning how you can sponsor the show, go ahead and just comment sponsor in the comments, and then we'll hop on the phone and we'll talk about some of the different options that you have for sponsoring the show. Diana Morales is in the building. Sila Empowers. Love it, love it, love it. So what is it when it comes to servant leadership? What's the difference between servant leadership and any other form of leadership? Let me grab the link to this actual article and put it in the comments, because I'm not going to read everything, as you guys know. But I always like to shout out my sources, and you guys can go check this out for yourself as well. So it talks about 10 key principles of servant leadership. Number one, before we get to number one, what is servant leadership? Servant leadership traces its origins back to Robert Greenleaf. In his 1970 essay, The Servant as a Leader, he described servant leadership like this: the servant leader is servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first, right? Servant leadership flips typical leadership script by putting people ahead of power, right? Servant leadership flips typical leadership script on its head by putting people ahead of power. A servant leader prioritizes the team's growth and well-being, letting their own needs and ambition take a back seat. So if you haven't answered the question of the day for today is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? 1 meaning not that great, 10 being the best. Put QOTD before your answer, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader is the question of today. So let's jump into some of these principles, man, and let's see where you guys fall. Feel free to comment if this one you need to work on, if this one you got down packed. So what does it take to be a servant leader? Servant leaders share a common set of core characteristics. Follow these 10 principles to put servant leadership to work with your team. Number 1, listening. Listening is at the heart of servant leadership. If a team member's talking, give them your full focus and attention. No interruption allowed. It's a simple way to make your team feel valued so they know you care. Now watch this. This is a business podcast. or a business blog that I'm reading from. And I put the link in the comments for you guys to check out teamgant.com, right? But I want you to think about your servant leadership skills in your family. When your children are talking, right? Do you interrupt them a gazillion times? Or do you allow them to speak with no interruptions, which makes them feel valued so they know you care? Uh-oh. Oh, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. I'm stepping on some toes. See, a servant leader is a good listener. And it's one of the core ways to help people know that you value them and you care. Sometimes we think as parents, we don't have to value our children as human beings. One of the things that I really focused on as I was raising my children is I just had to constantly remind myself that they are just smaller people. Right? Your children are people. And sometimes we get in this authoritative mode and we forget that they are people. Do you allow them to speak? And do you put full focus and attention on what they're saying so that they know that they feel valued and that you care? That's number one. Servant leadership is listening. Number two, empathy. A lot goes into empathy, but when it comes to servant leadership, it basically comes down to getting to know your team. Find out what makes them tick and learn their strengths and weaknesses. That way you can let your team members shine and maybe even help them turn their weaknesses into strengths. Right? I want you to think about this for a second. The people that you are leading, how well do you know them? Right? And this is one of the things that when I share my thoughts on the question of the day, I know this is one of the areas that I can get better at. See, you can't empathize with somebody that you don't know. You can't express real, genuine empathy if you don't know a person. And for those of you who are in business, let me help you understand that all businesses are relationship businesses. I don't care what you do. I don't care what product or service you have. I don't care what you're selling. You are in the relationship business, my friend. So in order for you to build better, stronger, deeper relationships with your team members, with your vendors and your suppliers, with your bosses, with your associates, with your competitors, you got to understand number one and two. Number one was listening, and number two is empathy. What can you do to create an environment that allows you to get to know your team? But if empathy and servant leadership is going to be how you lead, then the mark of a good leader is creating other leaders. The mark of a good leader is creating other leaders. So if you're going to be a servant leader, that means you're going to create other servant leaders. So you have to create an environment that allows people, not only allows you to get to know the people that you're working with, that you're working for, you have to create environments that allow them to get to know each other so that they can deploy empathy when necessary. So they can work on their listening skills without interrupting and making each other feel valued, showing that they care for one another, right? Number one was listening. Number two is empathy, right? Scroll down and let's see what they have for number three. We're talking about the 10 principles of servant leadership here on the Cortez Hustle Show. And number three is healing. Healing. Some team members may come to you from a previous job that had a really toxic work environment, and you have the privilege to help them heal. Don't worry, it's not as hard as it sounds. Healing is as simple as creating a healthy work environment that has work-life balance built in. It's also about giving people the tools they need to succeed so they feel like a valued member of the team, right? Empathy and listening will let you know that this person might need a little space when they come and join your organization and they're part of your team, or you add somebody to the family, like if you marry into a situation where there are already children involved and things of that nature. How do you create a culture? And my mentor, shout out to Henry Doris, has really been helping me understand that you succeed in business by hiring and keeping the best people. You keep the best people by creating the culture that allows them to feel value, but to also for them to thrive in the area that they are great at, and not put them in positions to lose, right? You know what? I forgot to give you out the quote of the day. So let me do that real quick. Today's quote of the day is, all men are created equal. Some just work harder in the preseason, right? Quote of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. All men are created equal. Some just work harder in the preseason. And that is by the great legendary running back Emmitt Smith, right? How hard are you working in your preseason right now, right? Are you taking plays off? Are you taking days off? Are you skipping practice? Are you coasting when you should be pursuing excellence? All men are created equal. Some just work harder in the preseason. Are you in your preseason getting ready to launch a business? Are you in your preseason getting ready to launch a project, a product, or service? Are you in your preseason getting ready to go from glory to glory? How hard are you working in your preseason? No days off, no plays off, no drills off during practice. You should be pursuing excellence in everything that you do. One of the things that I learned from listening to my motivation in the morning is from Lisa Nichols. And she talked about her battle with depression and how she had to fight to overcome it. She said she would look herself in the mirror every day and tell herself three things. She would say, I am, and you fill in the blank for whatever that means for you. She would say, I forgive you for, you fill in the blank for whatever that means to you. And she would say, I'm committed to, you fill in the blank for whatever that means for you. But in this situation, in this quote, I have to tell myself every day, I'm committed to excellence. No plays off, Cortez, no days off, no drills off. Show up and give it your all. Are you committed to excellence? Today's quote of the day is brought to you by Monetize My Life Academy. Hey, if you don't already know, we're having a digital product boot camp tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. This is where I'm going to show you 9 different ways to turn your gifts, talent, special abilities into income, right? How do you do that? You do that by creating digital products from what you know. So if you're interested in the boot camp, it's $47. It comes with 2 courses. Course number 1, how to launch your coaching business. Course number 2, digital product blueprint. And then, of course, it's a 2-hour workshop where I'm actually going to show you 9 different ways to turn your intellectual capital into intellectual property. All you got to do is comment boot camp if you want to join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And even if you can't join, you might go ahead and register and just get the recording, because it is a dope session. I'm even going to create a product in front of you live to show you how you can turn your intellectual capital into digital products. So that was the quote of the day here on the Cortez Hustle Show from the legendary Emmitt Smith. So we're talking about 10 principles of servant leadership. right? Number one is listening. You got to become a good listener. Number two is empathy, right? Get to know your people and the people that you're working with and help them in the areas where they're weak and let them shine where they are strong. Number three is healing. Some team members may come to you from previous situations and they just may not be performing their best because they're bringing baggage with them. Will you give the new people who are entering into your life under your leadership the ability to unload their baggage? Or will you jump down their throat and judge them on every little thing, not knowing where they come from? But if we are at number one and number two, if we're listening to them, if we are deploying empathy, then we'll know how to manage. And then the other thing, if you're creating the culture, if you're creating a culture that allows people to actually win, that allows people to thrive, that allows people to be themselves, that allows people to feel comfortable and confident, right? This is huge, y'all. Huge, right? People walk around with all sorts of insecurities because they don't feel safe putting their bags down anywhere. I'm gonna run that back, man, because I know somebody's dealing with that this morning. People are running around not being their best selves because they haven't found a place where they feel safe putting their bags down anywhere. That's huge. That's why people carry so much baggage. Because if I set my bags down here, if I unload my bags down here, there's too much judgment coming my way. So I'd rather just take them with me. If I set my bags down here, then people are going to laugh at me. They're going to mock me. So I'm just going to take them with me. No, create an environment that allows your folks, even if they're coming from situations where things weren't the best, right? Create that environment and that culture that allows them to win. Speaking of environment and culture, ladies and gentlemen, y'all know around 7:20 every morning, we do something called 1 minute motivation. That's where I play a 1 minute to 90-second clip of a motivational video. I am huge on personal growth and self-development, feeding your mind positive things more so than you feed your mind negative things. But let's not get it twisted. Everything that you consume is part of personal growth and self-development. The question is, in which direction is it causing you to grow and or develop? So on the Cortez Hustle Show, I want to be a source of inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. So we do this every single morning. So let's go ahead and get into 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. You guys comment one of your takeaways, and I'm going to give you one of mine. So let's get it.
Feeding fear.
If you know exactly what you want to be, you need to spend as much time with people that are actually that already. You cannot let a fear of failure or a fear of comparison or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what's going to make you great. You cannot succeed without this risk of failure. You cannot have a voice without the risk of criticism. And you cannot love without the risk of loss. You must go out and you must take these risks.
You don't have the time to waste time, because time doesn't wait till you discover your purpose. If you don't know why you was born, time is still moving. And if you discover your purpose at 90 years old, it's too late.
You don't know how young you are. What if you die in 2 years? You're pretty old right now. You got 2 years left. And if you're 50 years old and you're feeling discouraged, well, remember the advice about planting a tree. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today? So if you're 50 and you feel like life left you behind, well, get started right now. Better late than never. Better late than never. Don't think about time and age so much. It gets people distracted. When the whole world's distracted, you be focused.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That is 1 minute motivation here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Man, so many nuggets in that one. But I think one of the biggest ones that I got, it says, when you know who you want to be, spend as much time with people who already are that, so that you can become, so that you can develop that, man. It is so baffling to me how much time we devote and spend around people that we do not want to be like. It is baffling, right? Another one says you can't succeed without risk. You can't succeed without risk. Now, this one, really, this is the first time I've ever heard this. You can't love without risk. Right. I share this story a lot. Some of you guys know my background. I'm in the network marketing space is one of my primary businesses. And a lot of times people want to get started in a network marketing opportunity, but they've had some negative experiences. And they're like, man, I said I would never do that again. So they kind of hold themselves back. And I like to remind them that, you know, there was a time when I was a young man, I dated a young lady who said she would love me forever, right? And we broke up. Now, if I had let that scar keep me from moving forward, I wouldn't be married to my wife that I'm married to now, celebrating 21 years this past January. If I would have said, man, the last time I risked it all and fell head over heels with somebody who said they would love me forever, it ended. Right? You can't love without risk. Huge for me, man. I had no idea that was coming at me this morning, but that is 1 minute motivation right here on the Cortez Hustle Show. Again, guys, if you guys want to learn how to turn your gift, talent, special abilities into income, and you want to turn them into digital products, I'm doing a boot camp, $47. I'm going to show you 9 different ways to turn your knowledge into digital products that you can market, sell online, and build a brand around. This course comes with not just a live workshop, but it also comes with 2 courses. It comes with a course on how to launch your coaching business, and it also comes with my personal branding blueprint course, so that you have continued education on building around your product that I'm going to show you how to create. Tomorrow night, it is 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All you got to do is comment keyword bootcamp. I will share the link. It's $47, y'all. That's popcorn and peanut money to learn a skill that will pay you for the rest of your life. The reason I get up every morning, the reason I'm so fired up is because I'm doing what I love. I'm doing what I love, y'all. And as they say, when you do what you love and can get paid for it, you'll never work a day in your life. So let's continue with our 10 principles of servant leadership. This is coming from teamgant.com's blog on servant leadership. I shared the link with you guys in the comments. It will be in the show notes for those who are watching or listening to this on the podcast, or the replay. It will be in the show notes as well. Principle number 1 was listening. Get your listening skills up. Principle number 2 is empathy. Know how to deploy empathy, man, and show some love to your team. Find out what makes them tick, their strengths, their weaknesses. Number 3 is healing, right? Create an environment where people can be around you and feel safe setting down their baggage. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you become a dumping ground for people, because that's not healthy either, right? But people got to be able to feel safe to say, you know what, I'm going through something today. Can I get a pass if I don't produce excellence today? And you got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to deploy empathy, because there have been days in your life where you didn't perform at your level of excellence. right? And somebody gave you a pass. Number 4, this is huge. Self-awareness. Self-awareness. We're talking about the 10 principles of servant leadership. And by the way, if you guys have not shared the stream, go ahead and smash that share button. And if you haven't answered the question of the day is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader, right? Put QOTD and then give me your answer. 1 meaning not so good, 10 meaning the best. Number 4, self-awareness. I've already mentioned the importance of understanding the team's strengths and weaknesses, but it's just as important to do a little self-reflection so you can understand your own strengths and weaknesses, right? Take inventory of your own strengths and weaknesses and figure out how to fit into the overall team. Then use yourself in ways that benefit the team and the company. Recognize your own limitations can help you see opportunities to leverage your team's strengths more clearly. And again, guys, this is a business blog, but I want you to think about leadership in every capacity in which you lead, especially in your family, right? Especially in your family. Because remember, we have to look at our families as not right now, but also the future. And you have to look at your family situation and say, man, what I'm doing today not only impacts the kids here, but it impacts their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids' kids. Right? So self-awareness in your parenting skills. As a leader, as a parent, you are a leader. What are your limitations that you're not willing to admit to yourself and you're allowing to destroy your children? What are those things? What are those weaknesses that you have in your parenting and your leadership skill with your family that you could shore up to give them a little bit better of a shot, right? As a parent, you might not be the greatest communicator, but you better find somebody that can communicate what you expect out of your kids to them so that they can execute on those things, right? As a parent, as a leader in your household, you might not be the best at casting vision, but you better have somebody in those kids' lives that can cast a vision that will allow them to see the greatness in themselves and the legacy that y'all are building together. You don't got to be great at everything, but when you're self-aware, you say, hey, man, I am not the greatest at showing love to my children, but let me make sure they spend a lot of time with grandma because she loves hugging on them and she loves telling them how great they are. And she just loves loving on the kids, right? You better figure some things out because you don't, as a parent, you don't only parent one generation. As a parent, you parent every generation that comes after you. Just understand that. Just understand that, people. Number 5, persuasion. Persuasion, right? Slick sales tactics may come to mind when you think of persuasion, but that's not what we're talking about here. Servant leaders use persuasion to build consensus and get buy-in from their team. That way, everyone feels like they have a stake in the team's success. Listen, man, I'm going back to the family here because this is some of you, not everybody's a business owner, but everybody is in a family. Everybody plays a leadership role in some capacity in their life, especially in their family. Some of us came up in households where when grown folks are talking, shut up. Some of us came up in households where we were not included in any of the decisions made by the leaders of our families. And this is no judgment on how you came up, your parents, it might have worked out fine for you. But I'm telling you right here, as a servant leader, when you get buy-in from the family, they feel like they're a part of the family success. They feel like they help the family win. They're going to do more the next time to contribute even more. And the more you allow and take that consensus and get the buy-in, right? I'm not saying you let your children make the decisions. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as much as possible, get their input so that they feel like you care. They feel like they are part of this thing. Because here's the thing that you got to understand about those little people, those little human beings that you're raising. They're going to be adults far longer than they're going to be children. Sometimes we don't get this. And I didn't get this early on, right? And I'm telling y'all now, they're going to be adults for far longer than they're going to be children. What are you saying, Cortez? The habits that you are creating within them, the culture that you're creating that's impacting them forever. You don't train kids to be kids, you train kids to be adults. And when you include them in, you get the buy-in and you allow them to help with the decision-making process and getting consensus, you're training them to be an adult. Because I said so ain't always the best answer, y'all. Do you owe your children an explanation for every little thing? No. But sometimes it's better to say, I will communicate this to you when you get a little bit older, where you'll have a better chance of understanding. Sometimes it's better to say, hey, I've made an executive decision. We're going to roll this way. We'll revisit it in 6 months and I'll get your input. But right now, I got to make this decision that's best for us. Not because I said so. Don't ask me no questions. When grown folks are talking, sit down. Right? Just like you are a genius, there are little geniuses in your atmosphere as well. So learn how to use the art of persuasion, not to be manipulative in a negative fashion, but to say, hey, this is where I see our family going. Where can I use your help? This is where I could use your help. This is what I need from you. This is what you're strong at. If you bring this to the table, this is how we'll be better off 2 years from now, 1 year from now, 3 years from now. Right? Persuasion is number 5. Number 6, one of my favorite, conceptualization, right? Conceptualization. You've got to know where you're going as a leader in a company. After all, how else will you carve a positive path for your team? Team Gantt enables you to keep the big picture in mind without losing focus on the day-to-day. For example, the project health report makes it easy to see how all your projects are tracking, while workloads enables you to keep a finger on the pulse of your team, right? Do your children know where y'all going? That's a serious question. Do your children know where you're going? Does your team know where you're going? See, if you don't conceptualize, if you don't visualize, if you don't cast a picture, paint the dream, let them understand why the sacrifices have to be made, could that be why you're getting so much resistance to the sacrifice in the first place? That could be. See, when you say, no, you can't get those $200 shoes because I said so, that makes little Johnny feel away. That makes little Susie feel away. But when you say, for the next 2 years, I need y'all to buy into something. For the next 2 years, if y'all rock with me on this, we're not going to get a whole lot of expensive things. We're not going to take a vacation for the next 2 years. We're not going to eat out as much. We're going to start spending more time together as a family, cooking meals so that we can save money. Because if we do this for 2 years, guys, I promise you, you'll be able to get a pair of $200 shoes every month. But it's going to take us to sacrifice for these 2 years to really get our affairs in order. Mom and dad needs to pay down some debt. We need to really pour into the business to scale the business up right now. Are you getting them to buy in? Are you selling them on a vision? Do they know where you're going so the no's don't sting as much? Because they can see like you can see. Oh, yeah, my homeboy's laughing at me now because my shoes are a little run down. That's all right. Daddy told me I was going to experience this. But he also told me that in 2 years, we're going to live like none of my homeboys could ever imagine. Do they know where you're going? Does your team know where the company is going? Do you conceptualize on a regular basis with your family, with your team? Number 7, foresight. Another key characteristic of servant leadership is taking the knowledge you've learned in the past and applying it to the future so you and your team can continue to grow, right? This is where understanding how the storms in your life benefit you. See, they say you can never connect the dots looking forward, but when you look backwards, you can see, oh, that's why I went through that situation. It prepared me for this. Oh, when I tried that, it didn't work out, but here's the lesson I learned from it. I applied it over here and we had success in this area. You can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. I call it, I revisit the Red Seas in my life over and over. Right? Something the children of Israel forgot all the time. I mean, within days of crossing the Red Sea on dry land, they were murmuring and complaining about being in the wilderness. In a blink of an eye, they had forgotten that the God that they served literally parted the Red Sea. They didn't walk across on mud. They walked across on dry land. And when they got the last person through, then the sea collapsed and crushed their enemies. But within days, they were already murmuring and complaining. Some of us get caught up in murmuring and complaining when we are days on the other side of miracles in our lives. You know why? Because in this society, the only way you get attention is by complaining. You throw a pity party, everybody shows up. You throw a progress party and nobody shows up. This is how it is, right? Why on earth would I be complaining and griping about anything when I woke up this morning? My wife woke up this morning. None of my sons are at the house right now, but I didn't get a call that said any of them are missing right now. My mom is still kicking. My sisters and my brothers are still kicking. Why would I be murmuring and complaining about anything? And you got to create an environment for your team, for your family that says, hey, we're going to operate from an attitude of gratitude. And even when things are bad, we're still going to operate with an attitude of gratitude, because it could always be worse. It could always be worse. So foresight is, hey, we took the lessons that we learned from our past. We're going to apply them to where we're going in the future. I'm going to use that knowledge to not make as many mistakes. But even when we make the mistakes, we're still grateful. The book I read says I should count it all joy, because all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called to his purpose. Number 8, stewardship. Stewardship, right? Stewardship is simply leading by example. It's your job to set the tone for your team. So don't ask people to do things you wouldn't do yourself. Stewardship, right? Are you, when you told the kids that for the next 2 years, we're not doing anything, we can't get expensive shoes, expensive clothes, we're cutting the cable. Did you tell the kids that? And then 6 months down the road, you come in the house with a bag of Gucci shoes? Did you tell the kids that y'all not going to do no vacation in this time, and you go on a girls trip? I'm just saying, stewardship. Are you caring for the resources that you've been blessed with? How are you managing those things? Are you leading by example? That is a question that you have to ask yourself. Speaking of question, if you haven't answered the question of the day and you want to be entered into the drawing to win the free vacation, then put in the question of the day is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? Scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself as a leader? Put QOTD, then give your answer. That's how my team knows to put your name in the drawing to win the free vacation, right? So number 8 is stewardship. It's leading by example. It's your job to set the tone for the team, right? Do your actions line up with your words? Do your actions especially line up with your mandates for the team? If I'm telling the team that, hey, you should be trying to go out and talk to 5 to 10 people a day, am I talking to 5 to 10 people a day? And then this is my business team, right? If I'm telling my coaching students, hey, you should be trying to put out content every day to further build your brand, am I putting out content every day? If I'm telling my sons that, hey, you want to work for yourself, then you've got to constantly be learning and growing and mastering some sort of skill that's going to pay the bills. Am I learning and growing every day, mastering some sort of skills? Am I in my courses? Am I with my coaches and my mentors? Am I showing up in business every day? Leadership, man, stewardship. How are you managing the resources that you've been given? How do you manage the resource of time in your life every day? Right? Do you invest time or do you spend time? How do you manage the resource of money in your life every day? How do you manage the resource of relationships every day? Are you deploying empathy, or are you quick to cut somebody off when you don't get what you want? How do you manage your resources of technology in your life today? These are all resources. How do you manage the resources, right? Because I'll tell you this, man, and this might sting a little bit. There's no lack of resources, guys. For most of us, it's a lack of resourcefulness. See, we if you're like me, I'm one generation from welfare. My mom raised us 6 children. I'm the 4th born, and we were on welfare most of my life. So I'm the first generation out of welfare. I live in the suburbs, nice, small little community, decent home. It's not the best, but it's fairly safe in terms of it's not in a crime-ridden area and that kind of thing. And I'm one generation off of welfare, but I got the nerve to act like my kids can't eat pork and beans and hot dogs. And that's what I grew up on. I'm one generation from welfare, but my kids couldn't put a slice of cheese on a piece of bread and put it in the bottom of the oven like we did with the government cheese. I'm one generation from welfare, and my kids got to have Captain Crunch instead of King Vitamin. My kids got to have Fruity Pebbles instead of the big black and white box that just say cereal. How are we managing our resources, guys? And we talk about we want to build generational wealth. We talk about we don't want to struggle. Right? Are you managing your resources? What do you do if you work a 9 to 5? What do you do from 5 a.m. to 9 in the morning before you go to work? What do you do from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. when you get off work? What do you do from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. after the kids go to bed? You say you want to crush it. You say you want to win. You say you want to have more. You say you want to be more. You say you want to retire early. How are you managing your resources? Right? Let's get to these last 2 minutes so I can give you guys my answer for the question of the day. Number 9, commitment to the growth of people. This is what a servant leader does, right? If you want your team to grow, you got to invest in people. One simple way to do this is by providing an annual conference budget so team members can develop the skills they need to thrive in their role. What are you doing quarterly, semi-annually, annually that's going to allow your team to grow? And let's go back to the family, right? What are you doing with your family that's going to allow them to grow in their roles? This is one of the things that I wish I could take back because I'm a sports guy. When my sons wanted to play sports, I would invest any amount of money in sports. But I wasn't looking for other opportunities to invest money in their intellect. I wasn't looking for other opportunities to invest money in their social or their emotional health. Are you looking for opportunities to invest in your children, to grow them? Remember, they're going to be adults far longer than they're going to be kids. You should be training the adult in them. Stop trying to train the kid in them. Right? Number 10, last one, building community. Teams who trust each other work together to get more done. That's why it's important to cultivate relationships among your team. All right? Are you being careful and cautious with your team and allowing them to create relationships with each other? I had a conversation with my sons the other day, not the other day, this was a couple months back when we started to try to implement a weekly meeting to just come hang out, man, because they're all grown, they're kind of out of the house. My 19-year-old is kind of floats back and forth between our house and his girlfriend. So he's kind of halfway out, right? And I was talking to them about, they don't talk to me a lot about certain things that they're going through, and they don't talk to their mom about. And I just assumed they weren't talking to anybody. And one of my sons said, "Dad, how do you know we don't talk to each other about this kind of stuff?" And I had to pick my face up. Oh, my bad. I'm glad you're talking to somebody and creating a relationship that or an environment that allows them to build those relationships and those bonds with each other. Are you building community with what it is that you do? Right? So If you have not answered the question of the day, it is on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate yourself as a leader? 1 being not so good, 10 being the best. Let me see. I have some answers here. I'm going to read a couple of you guys and I'm going to give mine. Then we're going to get out of here. So Play to Win says I'm a 10. Clovell says I'm a 5. Let's see. Who else entered QOTD? When you put QOTD, it also makes it easier for me to find you when you put your answer. Let's see. I think those are the only 2 who answered where they are, 5 and a 10. All right. Says right. They talk to one another. Yeah. I'm glad they talking. So I can't be mad at that. So my answer to the question of the day on a scale of 1 to 10. Where do I rate myself at on this servant leadership deal? Shiro says 7-ish on a bad day, 9-ish on a good day. So I will tell you that I'm at a solid 5 right now. Felicia Ramirez says 9 for the question of the day. I'm at a solid 5 right now, and this is based on my personal ambitions and goals and the talent in me that I have just begun to uncover, right? I have just learned, guys, like within the last 12 to 18 months, what my superpower is and how to walk in it unapologetically. And now learning how to be a servant leader from that position of me walking in my superpower is kind of a whole new thing. So I'm about a 5 right now, man. And I want to encourage each and every one of you guys, if you have not figured out or learned what your superpower is, do some internal reflecting, right? And try to figure out what that superpower is and walk in it. And as a matter of fact, if you guys want to get a copy of this book right here for free, Monetize My Life, along with a course on how to become an influencer, all you got to do is go over to the Cortez Hustle Show blog, and that's at thecortezhustleshow.com. And you'll see right on the top of the page where I have access to this book for free, as well as a free course that can help you become more influential online primarily. But when you learn the power of influence, you become more influential in every aspect of your life. So that was the question of the day right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by the brand new and improved the CortezHustleShow.com blog, where you can go and get all of the replays of the show, check out all of our sponsors, check out all of our upcoming events, and so on and so forth, and get a free copy for a limited time of Monetize My Life, the book. Go to www.thecortezhustleshow.com to check that out. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in and engaging as usual. Until I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.